We recommend that most of our clients in California hire a land attorney if they're going to do development in California, at least for all but the simplest projects. So anything reasonably complicated or major, we always encourage our clients to have us work with a good land attorney on that development. So why do we do that? If you're from another part of the United States, that may not be common practice where you're at. So why do we do that? Why do we make that recommendation to our clients? I'm going to give you 4 reasons why we do that. So number 1, laws and regulations in California are very complex. You have to worry about land use regulations, land development regulations, environmental regulations. Those things overlap. Sometimes they conflict. Local governments in California tend not to be very helpful when it comes to land development. And in fact, they're often obstructionist. So that varies a little bit depending on what part of the state you're in. It's not as bad in the California Central Valley and up in the foothills and mountains of the Sierra. But if you get over to the Bay Area or down in Southern California, it can be a major problem. So the local governments usually aren't very helpful. And good land attorneys can work with the boundary surveyor to creatively solve problems that tend to come up in the land development process. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So they can help solve those problems. And a good land attorney can help keep your project on track, make sure it follows the proper process, so that if you do end up in a situation where you have to pursue legal action to get your project approved, or you have to threaten legal action to get your project approved, you're prepared to do that. So those are the four reasons why we recommend that our clients work with a land attorney, good land attorney. So that raises the question that we want to answer in this video: what should the role of the land attorney be on the project? If you've hired me and I'm your boundary surveyor and your private land planner, maybe we're doing a little project management, what is the attorney doing? What should he do? Or she, what should she do? That's an important question because attorneys are expensive. They're usually considerably more expensive than a land surveyor or a private land planner. So you want to make sure that your land attorney, that she's focused on her high value tasks. Right? You don't want her doing things that your land surveyor or your land planner could do. So you want them to focus on their critical tasks. So what are those? What should the role be of the land attorney in your development project? So I'm going to give you 3 things that I think you should have your land attorney focus on. Okay, so here's the first one. And we mentioned it. They should focus on the legal requirements as it relates to the development process. So there's some timing things that become very important, especially when you're doing subdivisions. There's also timing issues that come up when you start working with the agency on the conditions of approval or mitigation measures that might apply to your project, when those conditions have to be met or when the mitigation measures have to be implemented. So there are certain things you have to do at certain times to get your land development project approved and to put yourself in a good fighting position if there's going to end up being legal action. And so I can help with some of the technical aspects of that, but it's good to get advice from an attorney on how to manage that process. So that's one thing, just managing the timing of the development process. The second thing is it's helpful to have your land attorney negotiate conditions of approval or mitigation measures with the local agency, and that is a fairly common thing that we're involved with. That you submit a proposed project, the agency comes back with this list of crazy conditions, and then you got to go negotiate that, right? Those are negotiable, and it helps to have a good land attorney involved. Typically, as the private land planner, I'm highly engaged in that process with the land attorney, but it helps to have an attorney's letterhead. It just does. I'm happy to go negotiate conditions of approval with the local agency, but I'm just a licensed land surveyor. I'm not an attorney. It's just something magical about a land attorney's letterhead that gets stuff done and removes roadblocks. So I think they have an important role to play there. The third thing is they can, and we mentioned this also, they can work with your boundary surveyor or your land planner to creatively solve problems. I just want to give you a couple examples. You might work with your land attorney to use a quiet title action to clean up a title problem, or you might have your land attorney negotiate some agreements with your neighbors. If you know, you could get your neighbors to agree not to oppose your project if you do certain things. So the land attorney can help you negotiate that. And again, we mentioned, you know, negotiating conditions or mitigation measures with government agencies. So there's a lot of things that can be done creatively with a good land attorney to solve problems, get a project approved and built. One of the things I see happen a lot is boundary surveyors and land planners that don't work with land attorneys oftentimes limit the kinds of tools that are in their toolbox. They have a more limited set of tools to solve problems. So I was very blessed to get engaged with some good land attorneys early on in my career, and I think it's a really important thing for other land surveyors and private planners to do. So absolutely, you should have a land attorney on your project if you have a complicated development project in California. Some things we'll talk about in future videos. I'll work with Lori, our content marketing specialist, on these. What makes a good land attorney? You know, what do you look for when you go to hire a land attorney for your project? We'll talk about that. And then, you know, attorneys are expensive. So if you hire a land attorney on a project, how do you get your money out of them? How can I, as the project manager or land planner, help you get your value out of your attorney? You want to do that. Land attorneys are like boundary surveyors. There's good ones and bad ones. So you want to make sure you get a good one, and then you want to manage that attorney properly, just like you would manage a civil engineer or an architect. So we'll talk some more about that in some future videos, and I appreciate you watching. Thank you.